Great morning, everyone. Great morning. Great morning. It is the day that the Lord has made. We are choosing to rejoice and to be glad in it. We say that the Lord, what? Oh, sorry. We say that the Lord is good and that his mercy endures forever. Sorry. Great is his faithfulness to us. I'm Angela Thornton. This is WiseWord Ministries. Thank you so much for joining. We appreciate you. We appreciate you. Hello, morning, afternoon, evening to the replay fan. Hi, y'all. Hey, Tracy. Good morning. We are finishing our study of Esther. Lord have mercy. I'm thinking Easter. That's because it's coming up. Hope y'all had a good weekend. Hope you had a good weekend. So, in Esther chapter 8, it was so good to see you yesterday, Latanya. You know, it's good to go home. We went yesterday to celebrate our former pastor's birthday celebration, Founders Day celebration. It was good to be back and to see so many people that I had not seen. Some I had not seen in years. It's good. It's good to be home. It's good when people are happy to see you instead of what they're here for. I appreciated that. Anyhow, in Esther chapter 8, Mordecai is promoted. In chapter 9, they destroyed their enemies. Hey, Joan, it was good to hug your neck too. Chapter 9, they destroyed their enemies. And in chapter 10, we see Mordecai's greatness. So in Esther chapter 8, now we know at the end of 7, hey, Ethan, at the end of 7, Haman gets hung. Haman, the man who was intent on destroying the Jews, ends up having to honor the man he wanted to hang. Talk about God turning around for your good at a merciful Jesus. And Haman was so bold and so arrogant. My fingerprint is in this glass. He was so bold and so arrogant that he built a gallows in front of his house. So in his mind, when he hung Haman, all his friends and family could see. Well, didn't quite work out that way. In fact, at one point, good morning, Miss Lavette. At one point, Gracie, his wife says, "Oh wait, hold up, husband, hold up, Haman. This here Mordecai, he one of those Jews. Oh, this not gonna work out. You never gonna overcome them. You gonna, yeah. You're never gonna overcome them. You surely, but surely you will fall before him." Now that's what his wife said. Who, the same wife who had told him to build a gallows, now saying, "Oh wait, I didn't know it was for a Jew. Wait, oh, you never gonna overcome them." In fact, she says, "Wait, if Mordecai, before you have begun to fall, is of Jewish origin, you will never overcome him, but surely you will fall before him." See, y'all need to be leaving people of God alone. Don't just leave them alone. They're not bothering you. Don't bother them. So that's what happens. You know, he go to the banquet and all. We know the story, chapter 7, and then you know he went to the first banquet and got the big head. So then when he got invited to the second banquet, he really thought he was walking in high cotton, baby. He thought he was in tall cotton. So he get there, and then the king said to Esther, well, what happened? What you want? And she said, this doesn't or such. And the king said, well, who did that? And she said, him. And then the king got real mad. And then he left. And then when he came back, Haman was doing what folk do when they did you wrong, AP Lloyd. They say stuff like, listen, I know I don't have the right to ask you this. And I was wrong and I messed up. But if you could see your way clear, to speak a good word. But when the king came back, that's what he was saying. But the king thought he was like, oh, so then you're going to assault my wife while I'm in here? Oh, no. We're going to hang you on them gallows. So that took care of Haman. So chapter 8. Chapter 8, chapters 8, verse 1 through 19. The Jews are delivered and they take revenge. And they take revenge. So in chapter 8, the first 2 verses, we see, Rumi, that now we see Haman has gone from being elevated and esteemed and highly thought of, and a man with great wealth and great influence and all that, to now everybody say he a criminal and not a smooth one. Y'all saw that reference. He's not a smooth criminal. His property was confiscated. And the signet ring that the king had given him is now given to Mordecai. Now, what Haman meant for evil, as we're going to see in a minute, the Lord truly turned it around for Mordecai and the Jews. Good. Husband, man. Your friend AP Lloyd is on here.
Who?
AP Lloyd.
Oh, praise God.
Well, come say hey. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, we having a whole conversation like y'all not here. So the tables turned on Haman. Like they didn't just turn on Haman and dude got hung, or as my God don't say, he got dead. They turned on him even after he was dead. Now Mordecai has the power that Haman used to have before he got hung on the gallows. He built in front of his own house to hang somebody else. He thought that he was going to confiscate all the property that belonged to the Jews. Well, now all the property that belonged to Haman is not only removed from his family, but it is given to guess who? Esther. And guess what Esther does? Give it to Mordecai to oversee. Talk about what you meant for evil. God turn it around for good. Whew. So now, this edict that the king sent out at Haman's, instigation, that said everything Jewish needed to get dead was still in effect. Because, it couldn't be revoked. Can't take it back. Howsoever, Esther went before the king a second time without an invitation. And she found favor because he held out that gold scepter and said, come on in, come into the room. Come into the room. Okay, sorry. So this time she begs him, you need to put an end to this plan. And this is the second time she says, these are my people. So what she's saying is, I am a Jewess. I am a Jew. So the king, y'all know he weak as 30-day-old dishwater. Anything anybody tell him, he agree with. Like, okay. But this time, we're not mad that he agreed with Esther. So he says to her, okay, she wanted a second decree. He said, well, listen, why you need a second decree? I have given you and Mordecai power. I've given you and Mordecai power. Use it to your advantage. When you have been given power and authority, use it. Not for bad, but for good. He said, I've given you power and authority. Use it to your advantage. in verses 7 and 8. He said, well, now you write to the Jews as you see fit in the king's name and seal it with the king's signet ring, for a decree which is written in the name of the king, sealed with the ring, cannot be revoked. So the scribes called at that time. They did it. They did just what he said. So now, verses 9 through 14, 7 and 8, they had the power. Here's what happened. It did not revoke that first edict, but the second one superseded the first one. It couldn't be revoked, but the second one could supersede it. And he gave Mordecai the authority to write it. I'm not even going to write it. These your people. You saved my life. We done hung the dude. I've given you all of his power, all of his authority, all of his influence. Write what you need, bruh. I've given it to you. See, sometimes we get power from God, we get authority, and then we were like looking for somebody else's approval. Well, what you think? I know the Lord told me to do it. But what you think? Well, what? The man said, you got the power. Write it. So the decree is sent out. We know the day, we know the month, we know the year. And this was about 2 months after Haman's decree. Do y'all see how quick that turned? Like in less than 60 days? Happy Monday. Haman went from being up here to hung. The decree is sent out. The Jews had about 9 months to prepare for this conflict, because that was what the decree said. It was dispatched. You know, it took the horsemen a little while to run through all the kingdom so everybody would know. They plundered any group that fought against them. And while they could take away the property, as Mordecai had taken away the property of Haman. 8:15 through 17. Now Mordecai gets the royal robes that Haman had. Not only do I have your position, not only do I have the ring, not only do I have the power and the authority, I have the outward appearances to prove it to the people. I am now wearing the royal garments that you wore. So now everybody knows without a shadow of a doubt who Mordecai is, what Haman was. He got the purple robe, linen robe. He got the blue and white Persian colors. And he now held the position, the status, the power, the authority, the ring, and the favor that Haman had. What he meant for evil, the Lord turned it around for good. And now guess what happens? Because of that, many of the Gentiles, many of the Persians became Jewish. They said, listen here, what kind of God is this? Wait a minute. We don't have to build him, polish him, hammer him, nail him, hew him out the mountain, stand him up. Just hold on here. Y'all can't even see this God. And this what he does? Oh, I'm going to become one of you. How we do that? God's hand was obvious to the world at large. And some of them, many of them decided, I want your God. If you just live, you don't have to walk around with a cross on. You don't have to walk around with a big old Bible like this. I'm blessed and highly favored. You got to do all that. You just live a life that shows who you belong to. You just live. Folk will notice there's something different. Hold up. You got a little something different. What you doing? Who you know? How you come? Well, I need that God. So when we get to chapter 9, here comes the revenge. There was a battle. And on the appointed day, the tables were turned. All the enemies of the Jews, all those who had fallen in line behind Haman, talking about what they was going to do and what they were going to get, licking their lips and, thinking they was about to get something. May the work I done speak for me, as the song says. May the life I live speak for me. As the Jews assembled in the various cities to face their attackers, the Gentiles got scared. Y'all did all that wolf ticket selling and big talking and huffing and puffing. And then when God show up, his people show up, you like, hold up, back up. I'm sorry. It was so bad that even the government authorities of the Gentiles, of the Persians, helped the Jews. When the government of the enemies, which should be your enemy, help you against their people, you know God is in it. The people who attacked the Jews thought this was, an opportunity. I'm going to get rich quick at your expense. All right. Didn't work out that way. It had to have been God's sovereign intervention. It could only have been by God's sovereign intervention that Mordecai was now in this position of authority in a land where technically he still was in captivity. He became more powerful than Haman ever was. He enjoyed a better reputation than Haman ever had. And so they killed 500 men. All 10 of Haman's sons got dead like their daddy. All 10 of them. See, that's where the Jews sometimes would go wrong. God would say, kill them all, and then y'all would leave one because you felt bad. And then that one would rise up with revenge in their heart. When the king said to Esther what she wanted, she said, can we have one more day to carry out this task of rooting out the ones who tried to destroy us? And I misspoke. Haman's sons did get hung. She said, can we have one more day? Because we're not finished. We just need one more day. On that second day, they killed 300 more men. Here's the thing, they didn't do it for money, because Haman was after money and stuff. Because scripture says in chapter 9 and 10, in verses 15 to 16, they didn't lay their hands on the plunder. We don't want your stuff. We got stuff. We just want you to know who we serve. We want you to know that we cannot be destroyed. We want you to know that we will never be made extinct. We want you to know it doesn't matter how much you persecute us, and yet we will still rise from the ashes, baby, like a sphinx coming out the desert. We can never be extinct. We want you to know today we are believers. Hey, Daisy, we love the Lord. We are children of the Most High God. The kingdom is at hand. You can never make the kingdom of God extinct. Never, ever. There's going to always be a remnant of us who love the Lord, serve him, walk upright before him, and live according to what he has said. We don't care what you do. You can't get rid of us, baby, because we multiplies. And we multiplies greater than baby's kids. We multiplies, okay? So in the provinces around them, a total of 75,000 individuals were killed by the Jews in one day. But even then, as well as in Susa, where they killed 800, they did not take any plunder from the victims. Only in Susa did the fighting last for 2 days. So they celebrated on the 15th day. They were like, we're going to celebrate. They said, listen here. Now's the time for celebration. In the provinces surrounding, they celebrated on the 14th day. And after the slaughter, the 13th. So I know we've heard of the Feast of Purim. This is when it was established. in chapter 9, verses 20 and 22, the Feast of Purim. So it's established by, it was not established by Mosaic law. So let's just know that. This was not one of those things that Moses said, y'all, if y'all remember, they had a bunch of feasts that Moses was like, listen, this is what we need to do. This was not one of those. This was established by Esther and Mordecai. In verses 20 through 28, Mordecai says, listen here. He recorded the stuff. He sent the letters. He obliged everybody to celebrate the 14th day of the month of Adar and the 15th day of the same month, because on those days, the Jews, I love this language, rid themselves of their enemies. And it was a month which was turned for them from sorrow into gladness, from mourning into a holiday, that they would make themselves, that they should make them days of feasting and rejoicing, and sending portions of food to one another and gifts to the poor. We're going to celebrate what the Lord has done. So Mordecai instituted this in verses 20 through 28, and then in 29 through 32. Esther says it. So it says, so these days were to be remembered. Tell your story. What is your testimony? It's not a testimony if you don't tell nobody. You just keeping it like it's a secret to yourself. He said, listen, the Jews established and made it a custom for themselves and their descendants, not just us, but those who come after us will celebrate as a remembrance of what God has done. And for those who allied themselves with us, you want to become a Jew? Okay. But you got to do it in accordance at the appointed time and annually. Celebrate what the Lord has done. Tell somebody. I just can't keep it to myself. Said I wasn't going to tell nobody, but I just can't keep it to myself. So they said, listen, these days will be remembered and celebrated throughout every generation, every family, every province, every city. For these days of Purim were not to fail from among the Jews, or their memory fade from their descendants. Listen, we can't ever forget this, because we were about to be no more as a people. They didn't just want to kill Mordecai. He wanted to kill everything that was Jewish. We was about to become extinct, baby. That's what he's saying. So then Queen Esther, daughter of Abihail, with Mordecai the Jew, wrote, get this, y'all, with full authority, to confirm this second letter about Purim. He sent letters to all the Jews, to the 127 provinces of the kingdom of the king Ahasuerus, namely words of peace and truth, to establish these days of Purim at their appointed time, just as Mordecai the Jew and Esther had established for them. And just as they'd established for themselves, everybody was celebrating. Everybody. Big, little, small, tall, old, young, rich, poor, everybody. Now, they were going to give food. They were going to share with the poor. If you know, one of the poor relations, don't worry about it. Don't say, well, I can't come to the family reunion. I can't come to the celebration because, we got all these children and we can't really afford, to buy these airline tickets and, stay in these hotels, and we can't afford to come. So we going to miss it this year. They said, no. We got everybody. We sharing food, everything. You just come on here. Everybody celebrating. Get on the back of this here donkey. Everybody going. We got you. They took care of their own. It is called Purim because, remember, Haman wanted to use pur, P-U-R, a pur, a lot. He wanted to use a lot to determine the time of execution. He basically was drawing straws to see, well, what time we going to kill them? What day? What's a good day and time for us just to kill them all? End up, he got killed with everybody he knew. So the pur became a symbol of God using circumstances to deliver his own. That dude was casting lots, and they over here eating chicken celebrating. Mhm. A copy of her letter now is included in the royal archives. Y'all remember them royal archives? That's how the king found out that Mordecai was the one who saved his life when he had insomnia, probably ate too much, Guts was rolling, couldn't sleep. Mm-hmm. Had a little indigestion, couldn't sleep. Bring me something to read. Out of everything they could have brought, they brought that. And he said, well, what we do to, have we done something to honor this man? Esther said, no. Esther said, no, king, we didn't. He said, Haman, well, what you think we need to do for such a kind of fellow? He said, well, I think we need to put the royal robe on him and, put the crown and let him ride on the royal horse and the crown and everything. That's what I think we should do. The king, again, y'all know he weakish 30-day-old dishwater, said, you know what? I agree. Haman thinking it's him. He's like, yes, sir, I'm ready. He said, that's what I want you to do for Mordecai. You want me to do that for who? Mordecai. Mordecai. All that talking. You meant to hang him, and now God said you got to honor him. See how it worked out? You don't always have to fight. You don't always have to. I know he didn't. I know she didn't. Mordecai never said a word. King found out anyway. Nothing is hidden from the eyes of God. You just need to wait because your time is coming. You just got to wait. It's coming. Mordecai didn't have to say, King, you know what I did. You know I saved your life, right? Enemy's your footstool, baby. He said, what we need to do to honor this man? I don't recall giving him a reward. And Mordecai never asked for one. How about that? But the Lord, in his timing, allowed the king to know who saved his life. Then allowed his enemy to determine what would be the reward. And the man you were supposed to hang, you got to honor. My. And so in Esther chapter 10, as the book ends, Mordecai's greatness is described. The book closes speaking of King Xerxes or Ahasuerus' power, but more important, it extols Mordecai. The king laid a tribute on the land, on the coastlands of the sea, and all the accomplishments of his authority and strength. And now the king wanted everybody to know how strong he was, how much he had. I'm the king, all that. This is what I've accomplished. This is my authority, all of that. How about promotion comes from God? And the full account of the greatness of Mordecai, to which the king advanced him, are they not written in the book of the Chronicles of the Kings of Media and Persia? Baby, Mordecai went from about to be hung on a gallows to be in the official historical record of the kingdom of the Medo-Persian kingdom forever, and called a great man. You tell me promotion don't come from God. You don't have to, I'm going to get there. You don't have to plot and all of that. Just let the Lord be the Lord. Let him do what he going to do. I said, look at here. Look at here. Then it says, for Mordecai the Jew, get this, he went from sitting outside the gate, ear hustling, listening to them talking about how they going to kill the king, to about to be getting dead, hung up on this here gallows, to now being second only to the king when it came to power and authority and influence. It said, for Mordecai the Jew was second only to King Ahasuerus, and great among the Jews, and in favor with a multitude of his kinsmen, one who sought the good of his people and who spoke for the welfare of his nation. And here's the thing Mordecai didn't do. He didn't become impressed with his press and get the big head and forget where he came from and how he got there and start telling people, well, I got mine, now you got to get yours. He didn't do any of that. The book ends with the greatness of Mordecai. So they're saying that, nowhere does it state that Mordecai was a righteous man. Well, clearly it ends with he sought the good of his people. That is a righteous man. That is a righteous man. And so it is believed that as the original readers, Jewish readers, read the account of Esther and Mordecai and how it ends, that they would have been amazed. They would have been struck. They would have been in awe about the way God moved, how his sovereignty was at play, even though you don't see his name mentioned. Things that happened could only have happened by the power and the sovereignty and the majesty of God. We don't have to always mention his name. You don't have to run around talking about Jesus, 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 Jesus all day for him to work on your behalf. You don't have to be like the woman that put, God on her forehead as a tattoo. No joke. Esther, this book is filled with irony because of the way the events turned out. Isn't it ironic that the man who meant to hang Mordecai now has to honor Mordecai, and that man is now hung on the gallows that he built to hang Mordecai? Not only was he hung, but his 10 sons, and all of his belongings went to somebody else. Isn't it ironic that Queen Vashti, who refused to allow her dignity to be taken, that refusal put into play an opportunity or an avenue for a new queen? That new queen was a Jew who was able to save her people. How about that? Haman, exalted at one point, brought low like a slug in the ground with the salt withering him. Mordecai, who was low, now is exalted and honored, and the first shall be last. And a decree that was meant to wipe out every Jew in the land was overruled by the one who was meant to be wiped out, now led to the destruction of 76,000 of their enemies. That's why they celebrated Purim. That's why they celebrated every year. And to this day, the Jews still celebrate Purim with rejoicing, as a reminder that God is in control at all times, in all things, and in all situations. Amen. That ends our very, very light study of Esther. And that's a reason to celebrate, baby. You was trying to make us all extinct. But here's the thing, even if he had killed all the Jews in Susa and all the Jews in Medo-Persia, there were some who had left, remember, and who were free. So there's that. But I think even they may have still been under. No, they weren't. They were free. So tomorrow we start Ruth. It's International Women's Month. We're gonna take care. We're gonna talk about the women's in the Bible. Ruth is only 4 chapters. And then if there's some other women that you want to study, we would do that. But tomorrow is Ruth. Because we need to talk about Ruth. We especially need to talk about this whole Boaz business. Because if I hear one more person tell one more woman to wait for her Boaz, I'm like, why? His heart couldn't take that strain. He died the next night. That she a widow twice. This time with a baby. He won't. This was a land deal. This wasn't no love story. But anyhow, we'll see that as we go through Ruth. Our devotional. Hey, Habiba. Our devotional for today. Oh, let me clothe you in my power. The power for living a godly life shall be your milk. Power to see impossible miracles will follow you around. Your global clothing will be the power of loving the unlovable. Woo-wee, loving the unlovable. Your shoes will be covered in the power of journey as well. Your sword will be the power to receive harvest from dead fields. Fasting and prayer will be your shield and banner. No area of defeat will be able to conquer you again. Your ring will be the power of the blood covenant I've made with you through my son's sacrifice. Your foes will be terrified of the power I release in your life. I'll saturate your ground with seed producing power to power preaching. My power, my message to be a hero to the hopeless. Power to have fruitful seasons and times of refreshing from the Lord. Your mornings will be quiet times of intimate power to see into the spirit world of angels. You will live untouched by evil. My plan to hold you like a hand in the grip of my love. There you have it. The Lord is good. I will see y'all in the morning where we will look at our good friend, Miss Ruth. 4 chapters. It's some interesting stuff. Like, did y'all know Ruth took place during the time of the judges? See y'all in the morning. Yes, there is a woman named Deborah, and we're going to talk about Deborah. There is a woman named Deborah. She's in the book of Judges. We're going to talk about Deborah. I like Deborah, one of my favorite people in the Bible. We'll talk about some of the not so good girls in the Bible too. Yes. All right, y'all. I'll see you in the morning. Bye-bye. Well, y'all be praying for me these next 8 days. I'm doing professional development. This is my largest cohort. It's 18 of them. Ooh. All right. See y'all. Bye.